Anyway, let's move on, y'all, and let's get into this Snow White stuff. So Snow White came. It's in the box office. I mean, not in the box office. It's in the theater. And, it did what it did at the box office, but I think they were tracking it, saying like it wasn't really going to do all that well at the box office. So, yeah, it did what it did. It's underperforming, but but Movie Web broke it down. So let's get into that story. So as you know, Snow White has been surrounded by controversies from the moment it announced Rachel Zegler's casting for the titular role. Then she got in trouble for making comments about, that, she's not going to be some damsel in distress, and a man's not going to be, she's not going to be clamoring for a man to come save her, and all that stuff. And people got upset about it. Then, of course, Gal Gadot came out recently. Well, she's been very vocal about, since what happened in October with the attack on Israel and her policies on that, especially when she was a part of the Israeli army she served. So she was an Israeli soldier. So of course, her views are going to pretty much stroke the fence, if not hop over it, on the side of Zionism. And so people are pissed off at her about this. Another thing I didn't know, and I heard that she revealed this on a TV show. Godot was not even her real name, her last name. A lot of times when you get people from Israel or people who are Jewish or descendants of, or eighth generation, seventh, sixth, fifth generation, whatever, when they want to settle in parts of Israel, they go and change their name so it sounds a little racially ambiguous, because I didn't know Netanyahu's last name is not actually Netanyahu. It's a different name. But her actual last name is Greenstein. And when they went over to Israel, her family and stuff, they went and changed their name so they could sound a little racially ambiguous. So it makes sense that she would go up and straddle on the side. She was, ride the fence of Zionism, because she's making it seem like, oh, well, people are, anybody who sits and says that they have empathy for like understanding on why Hamas did what they did, you're anti-Semitic. You are laughing at the fact of people getting killed and all of the stuff, and that's not what we're doing, because clearly, where's that same energy for Israel killing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians? You worried about a couple of hundred, and don't get me wrong, killing is killing. It's wrong, period, on both sides. However, the math ain't math, and when we want to sit and talk about the amount of people that was taken and killed from Israel and invaded versus the consistent war that is happening currently, Israel versus Gaza, and the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. Within the last 48 hours, 400 people were killed or seriously injured. So, sis, if you're gonna sit down here and you want empathy for one side, we gotta have understanding for everybody. That death is wrong, period. But I get it. When you was probably out there taking lives, brown lives, you didn't see it the same way that everybody else was seeing it. You only gonna see it through your Zionistic rose-colored glasses. And like I said before, I do not understand how this broad, who only has probably, like, you can count on one hand how many movies she's done, how the hell she get a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame? How? And then I had somebody in my comments over on social media talking about, oh, people are protesting over some stupid award. Oh, to you, that's what it is, because you're not winning it. But to everybody else who's getting a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, how do you want to tell people not to protest against something when you have somebody out here promoting in so many ways without saying it, but based off of your beliefs, we see what side you teeter on, that you are all for the death of brown people, Muslims, brown folks in Palestine. You're for the death of them because they're hurting your people. And what this is all about is colonialism. We have a current president who took money from Miriam Adelson so that way they can strip what's left of the West Bank. So we're gonna sit into a politics. You need to understand what the stakes are and what's going on before y'all sit and talk about, well, people are sitting out here protesting over some actress winning an award. Do you even know her history before she became an actress? So before you all sit and say the things, you need to understand why people are feeling the way they feel, and they have a right to protest. So it may be dumb to you, but it's not dumb to them, especially when lives are being taken. That clearly is not affecting you. So new reports, in addition to all of that, because it's like we got to throw the politics in it because it has to do with why maybe a lot of this stuff may have affected the overall reason why a lot of people didn't go see the movie. That on top of the fact that, from what I've heard, like remember the initial story that came out, and I did a whole thing on it in a separate article or topic that we covered on the show a couple of episodes ago. That some people are saying it was getting good reviews and stuff. It was probably those people that are bought and paid for by the industry and are just gonna not come out and say stuff. But I've been watching other people who went to see this movie, and they pretty much have been like, it doesn't really reinvent the wheel. They made a couple of different changes and things of that nature, and Rachel Ziegler is good in it. But she cannot save this movie on its own. And this was basically an unnecessary remake. And particularly, of what generation cares about a Snow White? You know how old Snow White is? Snow White came out in like the 30s. So what young kid of today, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, gives a damn about a Snow White? Unless you have a parent who most likely grew up watching those films. That would be millennial. Who else? Before that, all the generations before that, maybe they would care, because my generation was like, when you have millennials and then you have Gen X and that sort of thing. We actually grew up watching that type of animated stuff. So I can understand why you want to pass that down. And because it looks cute or whatever, and you got a little girl, by default, I feel like parents will probably take their kids to see it because of that. But for the most part, I don't know, not one person that asked for a remake of some damn Snow White, let alone in live action. So a new report suggests that despite the loud voices on the internet seemingly pulling Snow White into a culture war, general audiences didn't seem to care, as the movie seemed to perform evenly across the country in red and blue leaning cities. For over 4 years, most of the discourse about Snow White has not been about the actual movie itself, but behind the scenes. While the internet certainly makes this a big deal, one must remember that online discourse does not always translate to the real world, which is something I have been saying for the longest. I keep saying to you all, while the internet is one thing, we got the Matrix and we have the real world. When you step outside the Matrix, you realize most of these people are not paying attention to all these little nuances that I just pointed out to y'all. This is one little silo. That would be the movie silo, the movie aspect of the industry, like that whole bubble. And then you have those people who are following whatever when it comes to the political aspect of, the incels with this, it's anti-male and it's woke. And it's, when you got Daily Mail trash ass, over there with the whole, wokeism and woke. Like every time I see a thing about Snow White, I roll my eyes at their article because they always throw woke in there. And it's like, we know what y'all mean when y'all say that, when y'all trying to weaponize that word into something that ain't even for y'all. Woke is the word for black folks. But of course, here we go with the colonizers, always taking stuff that was initially for us, for black folks, where we're just being vigilant and aware of anti-black situations. Stay up, be woke. That's what that's about. It's not for you people to be out here and trying to weaponize that and eat fucking I, which another one y'all cited took too. Because apparently y'all don't want people who are different, or include different people who have different religions, sexual orientations, gender, background, whatever, into y'all situation. White people want the leg up, but they don't want anybody else, because apparently if we have to work 10 times as hard and we get stuff, of course, it's because we got to fill a quota. When that's completely different, if you want to talk about something else, that is not diversity and inclusion. It's not the same thing. There might have been like maybe affirmative action or something, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, so what they said in the article, in a report published by Deadline, they said box office analytics company Intelligence revealed that despite a seeming conservative-based backlash to Snow White, the movie overperformed in Red County-based cinemas compared to other films, with 40% ticket sales and 43.5% admissions. The report did indicate that 60% of ticket sales for Snow White and 56.5% of the film's total attendance, 3.1 million admissions, came from theaters in blue counties. However, it is worth remembering that most theaters in the U.S. reside in blue county cities like New York, Chicago, and L.A. This does suggest that audiences across the political spectrum and all over the country turn out to see Snow White as in a much more even distribution than the online discourse would have one believe. Now, of course, when you point out statistics and come out with actual data and statistics and facts, people will be like, oh, you're just making this up. Or, well, suck my ass, the shit out my ass with a straw. Because if I'm pointing out to y'all that the movie did well evenly across stuff, that's just a fact. You're going to continue to hate on the movie regardless. I don't give a damn. I'm not watching no damn Snow White. I'm not the demographic. I didn't ask for this movie. I don't care about it. But if we're going to talk, because of what all the stuff that's the tomfoolery and all the hoopla, we have to talk about it. So Steve Buck, intelligence chief strategy officer, told Deadline the following. He said there was no red theater blockade due to any perceived controversies with Snow White. In fact, the opposite. Theaters in red counties performed better than they would normally for a family/animated film in the size and scope. So what kind of wonder is, who are these people that's online that was running around making all these accusations? And that kind of makes me wonder too, that a lot of these people, these same ones that was bitching and moaning on social media about woke and blah 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 blah, all that other crap, I bet you your bottom dollar that they were the main ones in that goddamn theater watching this movie. And this is the same way I feel about when Scream 7 comes out. These same incels that run on social media because y'all want attention and y'all like that endorphin fix whenever y'all, channel your inner, basement dwelling anger, that y'all will be on that movie theater day one watching this damn film. The same ones that want to see it fail. Or you're just gonna hate regardless. Or some people just, they get off on all that stuff on social media. Like I said before, I don't care. I'm not gonna see it. Now, maybe if it pops up on Disney Plus and I just got it on the background and there's like nothing to watch, then I'll probably watch it. But I could care less about one of the seasons. I'm not the demographic. So, like I said, it's like families and all the stuff, they probably wanted to go see this. But they said that, with people being pissed off about Rachel Zegler playing Snow White, apparently her casting paid off, because they're saying that she did well amongst Latinos, that a lot of Hispanic people came out to see it because Rachel Zegler was in it. So they said the audience for Snow White was 30% Latino/Hispanic moviegoers, behind the 43% Caucasian moviegoers. Snow White overperformed in Latino and Hispanic markets like Dallas, San Antonio, and Phoenix. So you had two parts of Texas, San Antonio and Dallas, and then you had Arizona. So it's a high amount of Hispanic people, they went to support this film. The highest performing theater for Snow White for its opening weekend was notably a Disney theater, the AMC Disney Springs in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, which is in a red state and had a wider draw for moviegoers than any AMC or even the Disney-owned El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles, California. So like I said, there are people who live in the Matrix and there are people who are in the real world. Because in the real world, it seemed like a lot of y'all just get off, get your jollies, your buttholes pucker whenever y'all put all this negative energy out here. But y'all be the main ones that will run to the store or go to the theater and support these films. I just realized my laptop is not plugged in, but I'm going to have to plug it in after I finish the topic. They said, there certainly will be a lot of analysis on Snow White's box office draw, as people will point out the 43 million as a major flop, considering films like Cinderella and Maleficent opened above 60 million a decade ago, where that movie's based on Disney Renaissance films like Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid drew in 100 million opening weekend. Even Deadline notes that ceiling at the box office could also be attributed to the fact that there's a lack of demand for older Disney IP, which I literally said that maybe the fact of the matter is nobody asked for this film. There was really no point in us getting a movie, a live action remake of Snow White. Who asked for this film? So Snow White performing on par with Dumbo, another classic Disney movie, getting a live action remake. Who asked for that? Indicates why Disney sent other live action remakes of Disney classics like Pinocchio, Peter Pan and Wendy, and Lady and the Tramp to Disney Plus. Maybe they should have sent this to Disney Plus too and just took like a tax write-off or something. I don't know. So they said Snow White is underperforming at the box office considering how much Disney reportedly spent on the movie. Yet it is important to note that despite all the hate aimed at Snow White online, it still managed to draw in more moviegoers than the previous week's top 5 films combined. Yeah, that's true because guess what? In the movie, it didn't really have much to go up against because number one, they said a lot of movies did bad. There was a movie that came out, some gangster film with Robert De Niro. They're gonna dump that straight on the streaming service. Quiet as it's kept. I don't know who said thinks that people are going to the movies of a certain age to go see some independent gangster movie with Robert De Niro. They said that movie did really bad at the box office. And not only that, you know what else came out this weekend? Magazine Dreams with Jonathan Majors. That movie made under $1 million. That is a huge flop for that film. So they're gonna just dump that on the streaming service. I don't even know why y'all even thought about putting Magazine Dreams in the theater. And especially with some people probably think, well, do you think all this controversy behind Jonathan Majors may have hurt the film? I don't really think they were promoting it because I didn't see any promotions. But I saw like one measly little trailer. Yeah, Jonathan Majors has been doing a couple of interviews. He went on Sherry Shepherd. He did like I guess extra Access Hollywood, the normal mainstream things that nobody I know watches except older people who still have a TV. I told you I have streaming, and I would see the clips and stuff on YouTube, and I didn't care to watch because I'm not really like I don't want to hear Jonathan Majors talk because I don't need you trying to talk like using your Harvard degree when you're trying to talk because I feel like you're being very smug. Like a lot of them, and I did go to college, so I can say this. But a lot of times when people who are college educated, a lot of y'all do talk like y'all act like y'all the smartest ones in the room, and I love trying to read y'all down to the floor, showing you're not as smart as me, sir and ma'am. So just because you got your little 8 degrees, you're not going to outread me in the intelligence department. So I get off a little bit on trying to go toe to toe with them with some of you Ivy League educated morons. Because just because you got an Ivy League education, don't mean that you got full intelligence. Because a lot of y'all could be book smart, but street smart. A lot of y'all don't have that. So I say all this to say, what do y'all think of this latest news surrounding Snow White and the fact that, yeah, this isn't a fairy tale ending that Disney hoped for? Yet again, with all the, do you think the controversy that was all in the situation, in the zeitgeist of social media, the people online trolling it, and, the people who were against Gal Gadot, the people who were against what Rachel Ziegler had to say, all the other discourse, do you think that may have hurt the film, despite it doing well in certain markets? And yeah, they had a big outcome of the Latino Hispanic community came out and supported it. The movie still, in so many ways, based on the budget they gave it, I'm sure it was like close to $200 million. I don't know what the exact full budget is. If y'all know, drop it in the comments. I ain't got time to Google schmoogle. When I'm in the live, I'm like, it's a lot going on in the head and the buttons and all the other stuff, especially when you're a party of one doing the show. So do you think that may have hurt it? And of course, with it making like under $50 million on possibly a close, and I'm guessing it's close to $200 million budget because these major networks, I mean, these companies are so ridiculous with their freaking ballooning prices. And those CGI dwarves, don't even get me started because the way they was looking, they looked a mess too. So I would love to hear from y'all. Let me know what your comments are in the comment section down below. Wait, hold